Ladies and gentlemen of YouTube, what's going on? It's Enrique Wild back with another video. 9.1 PvP talent tier list, Disc Priest version. Let's get it, man. Disc Priest, I love this spec so much in PvP. It's such a creative playstyle. You get to do damage, you get to do heals, you get to do CC, and despite being like very complicated in terms of like rotation, its toolkit is also a little bit complicated. Despite that, it's actually not terrible to heal. Like, you only have a couple abilities that actually heal, which is cool. Mostly you just trade defensive cooldowns and do damage, and every now and then direct heal when things get iffy. Love this class, love this spec. So let's get right into it. If you look at this tier list here, this is from 9.0 before they made some changes to Priest actually. So you might see a little bit of changes when it comes to 9.1. Let me turn the music down a little bit. Let's get into it. So on the S, you have Dark Archangel. Increases your damage and the damage of all allies with Atonement by 15% for 8 seconds. This is your best ability as a priest or Disc Priest. You're mostly going to be playing offensive comps like jungle or thug cleave if you're crazy. Anything offensive that needs a priest, like Cupid or any melee cleave that you want to try to run. This priest is just an offensive healer, put it that way. Increases in damage about all your allies by 15% with Atonement is like insane. S tier ability easily. Next, Dome of Light. Reduces the cooldown of Power Barrier by 90 seconds. Power Barrier reduces damage taken by an additional 25%. Again, this is an automatic pickup. It's so good. With the cooldown reduction on Power Barrier, it lines up perfectly with a lot of offensive cooldowns. So I take this almost every time. I mean, it's so valuable. It's insane. Next ability, Trinity. Atonement's duration is increased by 15% and healing transfer is increased by 20%, but can only be applied through Power Shield. Smite, Penance, and Shadow Fiend. Critical strike chance is increased by 25% when you have Atonement on 3 more allies. So this was the talent for threes. If you play threes arena, you will always pick this up because I mean it was just such a massive buff, right? You get 20% increase in Atonement healing. You get way more crit strike with like your damage abilities. It was crazy. But in 9.0 Shadowlands, Atonement healing was absolutely trash. Like, it took a very high skills gap to be able to play this and not fuck up, because you had to constantly stay ahead. And I'll tell you what you would take instead of this before. So I put this as S, and honestly, it might honestly be like an A now, just because Disc Priest damage got nerfed by so much, man. Like, just because of Mythic Plus changes, Mythic rating changes, Disc Priest damage is really bad. Like, Holy Priest has more damage than Disc Priest now. And because of that, Atonement healing has been affected as well. So you don't heal as much of it in Atonement, which kind of sucks. Because I actually really like this talent, where I didn't have to do so much, like, reactive emergency healing. But yeah, probably an A tier now. We'll see how it goes with a new talent I'm going to mention here in a little bit. Next, Thought Steal. Basically, you steal one spell from a target for 20 seconds. I keep this as A. It's probably not that high of an A, just because it's so good against mages. Like I've mentioned, definitely if you play against like Mage Rogue or anything like that, you want to pick this up almost every time because it takes away Polymorph, which is great. It's also good against Warlocks, but I actually don't take it as often as like I thought I would going into the expansion. So it's good, it's just niche, way more niche than I thought. Next, Archangel. Refresh the duration of Atonement on all allies when cast. Increases your healing and absorption effects by 20%. 1 minute cooldown. So in Shadowlands, I ended up taking Archangel so often just because it was so hard to heal through some of the damage, man. Like, playing twos against a warrior or playing in threes with against a melee cleave, man, the amount of damage that would go out consistently was insano. And I found a lot of ways to counteract that was actually using Archangel, because it's only a 1 minute cooldown. And honestly, I don't see that changing. This is probably an S tier ability now. Like, you're going to end up taking this if you play against melee cleaves or in twos against a warrior or any other high damage melee class, like maybe Demon Hunter, pretty often, to be honest. Like, it's actually a pretty chunky heal if you pop a Shadow Man with Archangel up or something like that. So it's gotten upgrades. It's gotten upgraded on the tier list. It's definitely worth it. Alright, next. Ultimate Radiance has been changed. So, in 9.0, it would increase your instant cast of Power Radiance by 250%. So, for any beginner Disc Priest, even in threes as well, if you, no matter what skill level you are, you had to take this. You had to. Because damage was so high, and this did so much healing. I mean, there's a conduit that also increases power radiance, so you would basically have to take it no matter what, because it was like a lay on hands, man. It was insane. Like, I would pick this up all the time, so it would have been an S. Let's look at it now. It's been reduced by 100%, as you can see. Power radiance is now instant cast, and the heal is increased by 150%, not 250%. So now I would probably drop it back down to an A. Why do I say this? Because Ultimate Radiance costs a shit ton of mana. Power Radiance in general takes a shit ton of mana. So it will basically put you on a time clock, right? If you had to heal like, using this all the time, you'd be out of mana within like a minute and a half, right? So yeah, it healed a lot, but it also did a lot. It took a lot of mana. Now, 150% instead of 250%. That's a lot. That's a big nerf, you know. And I don't think the mana has been decreased either. So it might not be as good now. You still have the conduit, which is good. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll come back to this one once we get to the new talent. It could be worth taking still, but I think something else is going to take its place. Alright, next, I think Searing Light has been changed to. Yeah, so Searing Light is what it used to be called. Increases the damage of your smite by 15% when you did damage with smite. The cooldown on your penance was reduced by 1 second. So this was taken a lot in twos because you would just be spamming smite and penance so much. Now it's called Blaze of Light. The damage of your smite and penance is increased by 15%. And penance increases or decreases your target's movement speed by 40%. That's pretty good. I like that. That's a good change. Let's pop this one up to the A, man. I can see this being so good now. You would probably take this in twos and threes, because that's such a good ability now. You get a movement speed increase, so you don't have to take that talent on the first roll. You can take like something for yourself, like Feather, and also, or maybe that's the second row. But it also increases your damage of your smite and penance, which will increase atonement healing, which I told you was a big issue in 9.0. So I really like that change. Really, really like it. This is probably like a higher A. It's probably like above this one actually. I like that change a lot. Next, Purification. Purify now has 2 maximum charges. So yeah, this ability is good against caster cleaves mostly. I think it's still a B. It's still a solid B. It's pretty good when you need it, but it's also very niche. Alright, next, Strength of Soul. Your powered shield reduces all physical damage taken by 15%. I don't think this has been changed, no. So I have this as a B now, because it was actually good in BFA. But now, just because how bursty the meta was, and it probably still will be with melee cleaves, I actually did not take this a lot because I didn't really feel the 15%, you know. So maybe it's like a C now because you have so many other talents that's probably better. But it's not horrible. I mean, if atonement healing ends up being pretty good, you might end up picking this up against like in twos against a warrior, or like in threes against melee cleaves, maybe. But maybe if this was like 20% or something. I don't know. 15% just seems a little not worth it. Maybe if it did something else. Alright. Last old talent. Purify Resolve. This hasn't been changed. No. Purify Resolve. Removing all harmful effects of Purify will apply Purify Resolve to the target, granting an absorption shield equal to 5% of their maximum health. So this is kind of supposed to be ran with Purification, like if you run these two together. But 5% shield just isn't enough. It's still a D. I would probably rarely, if not ever, take this because it's just so many better talents. You know, you only get 3, and to choose this, nah, it's not worth it. All right, next, let's do Improved Master Spell first because this last one is cool. Master Spell cooldown is reduced to 15 seconds, and its cast time is reduced by 1 second. So, like I mentioned in the Holy Priest video, this is probably an A, like a low A, just because as a priest, you don't really use Improved Master Spell that often. Unless you're doing it offensively as a healer. And by that I mean you'll use it to like dispel ice block or bubble. Or like if your DPS is getting off CC'd or something like that. Through like a cyclone or polymorph and you don't have dispel. Then you can kind of use this. But you don't need it every 15 seconds to be honest. So 45 seconds is usually enough. So I would probably put this as an A just because it's actually a really good ability. In itself, it's really good, but it's a little too situational for a healer to like benefit it. You know, it could even be like a high B. But I think A is a good spot for it. Last but not least, one of the coolest talents I've seen out of all the classes is... Oh, they actually increased Trinity, so we're going to go back to that. Nice. Inner Light and Shadow. Healing spells. If you choose Inner Light, healing spells cost 15% less mana. Pretty good. Definitely if you want to spam Radiance. That's actually really good. Inner Shadow. Spell damage and atonement healing is increased by 10%. Really good. And you can swap between the two every 6 seconds. So, like I mentioned, atonement healing was so bad in 9.0, and it's nice to see them make changes to it. Let's look at Trinity real quick. Atonement healing is increased by 15%, but only comply with the powered shield, smite, penance, and shadow fiend critical strike. Oh wait, this should be a period. Yeah, can only apply to powered shield, so that stays the same. Now, smite, penance, and shadow fiend critical strike chances is increased by 30%. Used to be 25%. So that ability got a little bit of buff. So Inner Light and Shadow is clearly an S tier ability. I would probably put it like here because atonement healing increased by 10%. So what I'm thinking is, I don't know, you kind of have the price of 2 in 1, right? Where they took the part out of Trinity that increased atonement healing, right, and gave it to Inner Light and Shadow. Inner Light and Shadow not only increases healing, but now it also increases spell damage. So what that makes me think is that you don't really even want to take Trinity anymore, because all it does is increase the critical strike chance of abilities, and this priest doesn't hit hard enough to warrant this. So this probably drops down to a B, and what you want to do instead is take Inner Light and Shadow, because it increases the atonement by 10%, which is not as much as Trinity used to be. Trinity used to be 20%, but it also increases spell damage by 10%. So you probably got to take this pretty often, because reducing your cost of healing by 15% is actually really good too for like reactive healing. So I think this is a pretty good list, right? If you play offensive comps like Jungle or Thug Cleave or Cupid or something where you want to do a lot of damage quick, you're going to take Dark Archangel. You probably want to take Power Barrier like every time, so I would probably put that one ahead of it because it's so good. So you probably pick these two a lot, and then for that third you might pick like Blaze of Light now, just because it increases the damage of Smite and Penance by 15%, and you're going to be using those a lot offensively if you're playing an offensive comp. But you can also choose Inner Light and Shadow and get a little bit of both. You get 10% flat increased spell damage and atonement healing, which would be pretty good. You can even take ultimate radiance. So that third spot is like pretty open if you play an offensive comp. But if you play a defensive comp, like a spell cleave or something like that, you know, you may not take Dark Archangel. You'll probably take something like Inner Light and Shadow, and then you may take like Blaze of Light because you're gonna be spamming that anyways. And then maybe something utility like Purification or maybe Trinity or something like that. Just because you're trying to like win, so you can take like Archangel. You can win through damping that way. But for things like jungle, thug cleave, rogue mage, of course, the priest staples, you want to take like Dark Arc, Dome, and then maybe Inner Light and Shadow or something like that. Cool. There you have it, folks. I probably won't be playing much disc in 9.1, but if you are a disc priest, I hope this helps a lot. Definitely if you're a beginner or an intermediate player. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. I love making these videos. They're free form, you know, I can just kind of chill and do whatever I want and like talk, and it's not pre-recorded, so I like these videos. Next series is going to be the Monk. Yes, I played a lot of Monk in BFA, also played in Shadowlands a little bit. I'm going to do Windwalker Monk, Mistweaver Monk. Mistweaver Monk has seen a lot of changes, which is awesome, because playing it in BFA was kind of annoying because I would die in stuns. But there you go. This priest video. Next video will be coming out soon. Thank you guys. Peace out.